Hidden amidst the urban sprawl of São Paulo, Brazil, lies one of the world's most notorious neighborhoods, Cracolândia or Crackland. Known as the largest open-air crack market in the world, it's a place where addiction and despair take center stage in full public view. It's chaotic, tragic, and yet undeniably real. This video isn't meant to sensationalize the plight of those trapped in this ecosystem, but rather to provide a raw, unfiltered look at how such a place exists and the human stories behind it. What is Cracolândia? Cracolândia is not just a single street, but a sprawling zone located in the Luz district of downtown São Paulo. For decades, this area has been a haven for crack cocaine users and dealers. The name Cracolândia itself translates to land of crack, and for many Brazilians, it symbolizes the harsh realities of urban poverty and addiction. What makes Cracolândia unique and infamous is its openness. Unlike other parts of the world where drug use is hidden in alleyways or behind closed doors, here it's shockingly public. On any given day, hundreds of people can be seen using, buying, or selling crack cocaine in broad daylight. The area is lined with makeshift tents, broken glass pipes, and the constant hum of activity as the drug trade operates without pretense. The history of Cracolândia. To understand why Cracolândia exists, we need to delve into São Paulo's history. During the 20th century, São Paulo underwent rapid industrialization, becoming Brazil's economic hub. However, this growth came at a cost. By the 1980s and 1990s, economic instability and rising unemployment left many people in poverty. At the same time, crack cocaine emerged as a cheap and highly addictive drug. Unlike powdered cocaine, which was expensive and associated with wealthier users, crack was accessible to the poorest in society. By the late 1990s, areas like downtown São Paulo became hotspots for drug activity, and Cracolândia was born. The neighborhood's decline was exacerbated by urban decay. Once a vibrant cultural and economic center, the Luz district became a no-man's land as businesses moved out, leaving behind abandoned buildings and empty streets. These spaces quickly became shelters for the homeless and hubs for the drug trade. Walking through Cracolândia. Visiting Cracolândia is an unsettling experience. As you approach the area, the atmosphere shifts. The air feels heavy, and the streets are crowded with people, many of whom are in visible states of distress. You'll see groups huddled together, sharing pipes and lighters, their faces gaunt and eyes hollow. Others wander aimlessly, clutching small plastic bags of crack, while dealers operate brazenly, conducting transactions in seconds. Despite the chaos, there's a strange rhythm to the place, a sense of order within disorder. One of the most jarring aspects is the sheer normalcy with which this happens. Locals walk past without a second glance, and nearby shop owners continue their business as if oblivious to the scene unfolding just meters away. This normalization speaks volumes about how ingrained Cracolândia has become in the fabric of São Paulo. The people behind the addiction. Every individual in Cracolândia has a story, and most of these stories are heartbreaking. Addiction doesn't happen in a vacuum. It's often the result of systemic failures, personal trauma, and a lack of opportunities. Take Maria, for example, a woman in her 30s who has been living in Cracolândia for over 5 years. She told me she started using crack after fleeing an abusive relationship. At first, it was just to forget the pain, she said. But now, it's the only thing I know. Then there's Joel, a former mechanic who lost his job during an economic downturn. With no income and nowhere to go, he turned to crack as a way to cope. It's not that I want this life, he explained, but once you're here, it's hard to leave. Women in Cracolândia face unique challenges. Many are forced into sex work to support their addictions, leaving them vulnerable to exploitation and violence. For them, the cycle of addiction is even harder to break. Government responses, successes, and failures. Over the years, Cracolândia has been the focus of numerous government initiatives, but few have achieved lasting success. The approaches have ranged from aggressive police crackdowns to social welfare programs, but none have managed to address the root causes of the problem. One of the most infamous efforts was Operation Clean City in 2017. This initiative involved demolishing abandoned buildings used by drug users and increasing police patrols in the area. While the operation temporarily dispersed some users and dealers, it didn't eliminate the drug trade. It simply pushed it into neighboring areas. Critics argue that these heavy-handed tactics treat addiction as a criminal issue rather than a public health crisis. Raids often result in violence and further stigmatization of drug users, making it even harder for them to seek help. On the other hand, programs like Recomeko, Restart, have shown some promise. This initiative focuses on rehabilitation, offering detox services, counseling, and job training for recovering addicts. However, the program is severely underfunded and struggles to reach the thousands of people who need its help. The role of NGOs and community efforts. In the absence of adequate government intervention, non-governmental organizations and grassroots activists have stepped in to fill the void. Groups like Projeto Cuidado and Mas de Luz provide essential services, from distributing clean needles to offering psychological support. Mobile health units are a common sight in Cracolandia, staffed by volunteers who administer basic medical care and distribute harm reduction supplies like condoms and clean syringes. While these efforts may seem small in the face of such an overwhelming problem, they make a tangible difference in the lives of those they reach. One volunteer I met, Anna, explained her motivation. People here are not just addicts. They're human beings who've been abandoned by society. We're here to show them that someone still cares. A global perspective on open-air drug markets. Cracolandia is not unique. Similar open-air drug markets exist in cities around the world, from Philadelphia's Kensington Avenue to Vancouver's downtown East Side. What sets Cracolandia apart is its sheer scale and visibility. These markets force us to confront uncomfortable truths about addiction, poverty, and inequality. They highlight the failures of traditional drug policies and the urgent need for holistic solutions that address both the supply and demand sides of the drug trade. The economic side of Cracolandia. Another critical aspect of Cracolandia is its underground economy, which thrives on the constant flow of drugs and money. The scale of transactions here is astonishing, with estimates suggesting that millions of RIAs circulate through the area annually. Dealers work in a surprisingly organized manner, with distinct roles for suppliers, distributors, and street-level sellers. For many of Cracolandia's residents, the drug trade is not just a source of addiction, but also a means of survival. Some residents work as lookouts or middlemen in exchange for small amounts of money or drugs. This economic dependency creates a vicious cycle, making it even harder for people to break free. Interestingly, Cracolandia has also become a microcosm of barter trade. In the absence of cash, people exchange goods like food, clothes, or even labor for drugs. This informal economy reflects the resourcefulness of its residents, but also highlights the extent of their desperation. Efforts to disrupt this economy, such as police crackdowns, often have unintended consequences. When supply chains are interrupted, prices skyrocket, leading to increased violence and exploitation as people become more desperate to obtain their fix. This further underscores the need for comprehensive strategies that address the root causes of addiction rather than focusing solely on enforcement. Reflections on Cracolandia. Spending a day in Cracolandia is a sobering experience. It's a place where the cracks in society are laid bare, where addiction is not just an individual problem, but a symptom of broader systemic failures. The stories I heard and the people I met reminded me that addiction doesn't discriminate. It can happen to anyone, given the right or wrong circumstances. And while it's easy to judge from a distance, up close, it's impossible not to feel empathy for those trapped in this cycle. As I left Cracolandia, I couldn't help but reflect on the resilience of the human spirit. Despite the darkness, there are glimmers of hope, people helping one another, NGOs making a difference, and individuals like Joao and Maria who still dream of a better life. This video is not about glorifying or sensationalizing Cracolandia. It's about shedding light on a reality that many would prefer to ignore. If this story moved you, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing to the channel. Together, we can raise awareness about these issues and advocate for change. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.